Silly Trolls. The Goosebump House. Nip and Tuck lived under a mushroom. One day a bear cub sat down on top of it, and the mushroom house was no more. The troll brothers got sticks and stones, and they built a new house. "Something hit my nose," said Nip. "What?" said Tuck. "I don't know," said Nip. The trolls looked up. Raindrops bounced off their foreheads. Raindrops slid down their cheeks. Soon they were standing in a puddle. "We forgot the roof," said Nip. The trolls made a roof and leaves and twigs. They painted the house yellow with red polka dots. "Our house has goosebumps," said Tuck. "We will call it Goosebump House," said Nip. So the trolls made a sign, and they moved right in. Chapter 2, Lost and Found. "Let's go on a picnic to Shady Tree Pond," said Nip. "It's too far," said Tuck. "We will get lost." "We will not get lost," said Nip. "I know the way." The trolls packed a cardboard box with sandwiches and cookies. They poured juice into a jug and set off down the long dirt road. The road twisted and turned through the thick woods. The trolls walked a very long time. "I am tired," said Tuck. "Where is that pond?" "It's just around the bend," said Nip. "How do you know?" asked Tuck. "See all the trees?" said Nip. "There are lots of trees at Shady Tree Pond." The trolls walked and walked, but they did not come to a pond. "I am thirsty," said Tuck. "We are almost there." "Yes," said Nip. "How can you tell?" asked Tuck. "Listen to the birds," said Nip. "There are lots of birds at Shady Tree Pond." The trolls walked and walked, but they did not come to a pond. Tuck sat down on the ground and ate half a sandwich. Nip ate the other half. "I think we are lost," said Tuck. "No," said Nip. "I know the way." The trolls drank some juice and walked some more. They ate some cookies and walked some more. But they still did not come to a pond. "Stop!" cried Nip. "I have seen that tree before, and I have seen that bush before," said Tuck. "We are at the pond," cried Nip. The trolls raced down the path. They ran past the tree and they ran past the bush. Then they stopped and looked at each other. "That is a funny-looking pond," said Tuck. "It looks like our house," said Nip. "It is our house," said Tuck. "You see," said Nip, "we are not lost." "We are not?" said Tuck. "Of course not," said Nip. "We are home." So the trolls had a picnic in their own backyard, and they fed the crumbs to the birds. Chapter 3, The Itch. "I can't sleep," said Tuck. "Why?" said Nip. "My foot itches," said Tuck. "Why don't you scratch it?" said Nip. "That is a good idea," said Tuck. "Good night, Nip." "Good night, Tuck." "My other foot itches," said Tuck a minute later. "Scratch it," said Nip. "I did," said Tuck. "The more I scratch, the more I itch." "Then stop scratching," said Nip. Tuck lay very still. His feet itched and itched. "It is hard not to scratch," said Tuck. "Think about your knees," said Nip. "Why?" said Tuck. "Then you will not think about your feet," said Nip. Tuck turned over on his left side. He turned over on his right side. He sat up in bed. "Now, what is the matter?" said Nip. "My knees itch," said Tuck. "Think about arms," said Nip. Tuck thought about arms. The itch jumped to his arms. He thought about chins. It jumped to his chin. "This itch does not go away," said Tuck. "It just moves." "Yes," said Nip. "It is a traveling itch." Suddenly, Nip's foot began to itch. Then his other foot itched. Then his knees and his arms and his chin. Soon, both trolls were itching and scratching, scratching and itching. When the sun came up, they yawned and got out of bed. "You stop scratching," said Tuck. "So did you," said Nip. "Where are our itches?" said Tuck. "Those itches must have traveled somewhere else," said Nip. The trolls yawned again and went to get breakfast. The cookie. "I want a cookie," said Tuck. "What kind?" asked Nip. "Chocolate chip," said Tuck, "with big fat chips." "A cookie with nuts," said Nip. "I don't like nuts," said Tuck. "And raisins," said Nip. "I don't want raisins," said Tuck. "Nuts and raisins and peanut butter," said Nip. "No," said Tuck. "And whipped cream," said Nip. "That is an everything cookie," said Tuck. "That is the best kind," said Nip. "But I want a chocolate chip cookie," said Tuck. "I want a chocolate chip nut raisin peanut butter whipped cream cookie," said Nip. But there was only one cookie in the cookie jar. It was plain vanilla wafer. "This is a nothing cookie," said Tuck. He took a bite. Then Nip took a bite. "This cookie is good," said Tuck. "This cookie is very good," said Nip. Chapter 5. The Sweater. Tuck loved his green wool sweater. It was soft and baggy and had 2 big pockets. He wore it all the time, even to bed. "Tuck," said Nip, "your sweater is ugly." "It is not ugly," said Tuck. "It is just old." "It has stains," said Nip. "Those are not stains," said Tuck. "The red spot is ketchup and the yellow spot is mustard." "Your sweater has holes," said Nip. "You cannot see them," said Tuck. "I have put band-aids on the holes." "I cannot take walks with you any more," said Nip. "The other trolls laugh at us." So Tuck gave his sweater to a mouse for her nest. Then the trolls went to town to buy Tuck a new sweater. The store had lots of sweaters. Red sweaters and blue sweaters, pink sweaters and purple sweaters. Tuck tried on only one. He paid for her sweater, and the trolls started home. "Why don't you put on your new sweater?" asked Nip. "Because it does not feel like my old sweater," said Tuck. "It is just like your old sweater," said Nip. "It is not," said Tuck. "My old sweater was soft and baggy. This sweater feels scratchy and stiff." The new sweater sat in its box for the rest of the day. Tuck did not wear it for his evening walk or when he went to bed. "Put on your new sweater," said Nip. "You know you cannot sleep without it." "I cannot sleep without my old sweater," said Tuck. "But it is the same sweater," said Nip. "It is not the same," said Tuck. "I do not know this sweater." "I am sorry I made you give away your old sweater," said Nip. "That is all right," said Tuck. But he could not fall asleep. Neither could Nip. Nip got up and went to the closet. He got out the new sweater. He pulled it and yanked it. He jumped up and down on it. Then he got ketchup and mustard, scissors and band-aids. "Here," said Nip, "I have fixed up your new sweater." "It is just like my old sweater," said Tuck, and he put it on. Tuck wore the new old sweater the rest of the night. He wore it the next day, and he wore it in the next night. Tuck wore his sweater all the time, even to bed. The end.